Now it's time for the Voice for the Industry podcast.
Hey, Bren, really excited and happy to talk with Andrew Peluso from Pesty Marketing. You know, he had me on his podcast, but that's not the only reason I brought him on this one, because I really wanted people to hear what he has to say. He runs a pest control company that's, unique to the pest control industry, but he worked for a pest control company before. But what they do that's a little bit different is they don't like the cookie cutter approach. They analyze a lot of data. They review a lot of the things the companies do. They find out what they do well. They find out what they could do better. And then they tailor a marketing approach to that. And I think it's a very unique, effective way to do it. And plus, he's just a good guy all the way around. His company did this funny thing at Pest World called Stop Pest Orgies, just to see how many people would sign up to support this fictitious group. And they had 100 people. So it's pretty cool. Great conversation. I think everybody's really going to like it.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting to hear his insights on how his marketing company just tailors to specific things and not just the ordinary cookie cutter marketing perspective that most companies do. It was actually very interesting to hear his pesty orgies and how that idea came about and how 100 people signed up, which was very fascinating to hear. And I think it was honestly a good episode.
Yeah, no, really good episode. Hopefully they're all good, but this was a good one. But anyway, everybody enjoy, and this is going to be a good one. Bye. Hey, good morning, everybody. Really, really excited to be here with Andrew Peluso from Pesty Marketing. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on Andrew's podcast, and they did a phenomenal job of editing. Made me look really good. So I don't know if I can make you look that good, Andrew, but we're going to do our very best.
I won't hold you to it.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, Andrew Peluso is the founder and CEO of Pesty Marketing, a marketing partner built exclusively for pest control operators. Andrew's introduction to the industry started in door-to-door sales. That's a tough job, where he saw firsthand how hard pest control owners and technicians work to earn every customer. As he later moved into marketing, he noticed something that did not sit right with him. Pest control is one of the most underserved industries in digital marketing, with many companies stuck with cookie-cutter strategies, confusing reports, and little transparency. Andrew founded Pesty to change that. His goal was to build a marketing partner that truly understands pest control and focuses on what actually matters: qualified leads, measurable revenue, and long-term growth. Today, Pesty helps ambitious pest control companies dominate their local markets through specialized SEO and PPC strategies. Trusted by multiple PCT top 100 companies, Pesty generates over 100,000 qualified leads each year and works alongside clients as a true partner in their growth. Well, that sounds great. Well, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here, and you've been a wonderful guest on our pod. So yeah, I'm sure the conversation will be fun, if nothing else.
Well, I certainly hope so. And it's funny, you got your Pesty Marketing is kind of built on the fact that you're dedicated as a specific and understand, the industry and the ways that your marketing team can help. And we're kind of the same way, Voice for Pest. We're kind of industry specific. We have employees like me that were in the industry, like you. So there's a lot of similarities there. But I truly believe that kind of approach and that background and perspective really does provide a higher level of result in the end of the day. So I'm sure Pesty's doing a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your ambition, right? So I've done the thing where I started an agency and I try to be everything for everyone, and I just ended up not being very good at my job for anyone. And you can maybe be average at best. So for me and for my team, we really want to be the best. By magnitude of order, we want it to not even be close. But in order to do that, it requires specialization. It requires being able to deeply focus on one very specific kind of customer, and then serving their needs. So, Pesty started out as trying to serve all pest control companies. And frankly, we learned the hard way by not doing a very good job for, the smaller operators, those sub-$1 million operators, which led us to the specialization we have today of only serving $1 million plus companies, because the needs of a solo operator or small outfit versus larger outfit, they're very different. They're very different. So operationally, we just decided to pivot even further, niche down. But so far it's working out well.
Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason there's specialists and general practitioners. I mean, being specialized makes a difference. So, let's start off at the beginning. Tell us about yourself. I mentioned you started off at door knocking. Give us kind of the history of how you got into that part of the industry, and then you kind of moved over into the marketing side.
Yeah. So door knocking actually is what led to marketing, because it dawned on me one day while I was knocking doors, selling pest control for EcoGuard Pest Management. The founder and owner of which is a good friend of mine. That it'd be a lot cooler if people came to me instead of me having to go out and knock doors to sell. And then I learned that was marketing, and I was really broke at the time, and so the only kind of marketing you can do when you're broke is SEO. So I went and taught myself SEO, and eventually my services were in demand. So started an agency. That was when I thought I could do website design and app design and SEO and all sorts of stuff. So taking revenue wherever we could get it, but we were doing okay. We cared. Some things went well, and in fact, I still have some clients from those old days, some legacy clients. But then realized eventually that it was just it wasn't worth the uphill battle of trying to do too much for too many people. So I niched down further, started Bananas Marketing, and there we were doing search marketing services for service businesses. But again, not niche enough, no competitive advantage in that. Growth was a heck of a grind and a push. And then eventually, had kept my eye on the pest control industry, looking around, just seeing how underserved it was. I knew that, if I went all in, me and my team could be the best at, the best in the business within a few years. I feel like we're there today. And and then eventually, kind of like I just alluded to earlier, we were trying to serve the big companies, the little companies, and it just became clear that we had to kind of go one way or another, at least in the short term, because we did want to be the best. We did want to provide the most optimal service for our clients, and when their needs are so different, you're gonna have a really hard time doing that. So I figured instead of trying to serve everyone in the industry, we were built, and I enjoy working with the operators who have built something a little more substantial, or who have been around a little bit longer, and so we really just doubled down on that, starting at Pest World in Denver. That was really where I started to talk about that. It was amazing. I mean, it was really made an incredible impact. There's a term called product market fit, and they say that when you get product market fit, your business goes from push to pull. And that was what I experienced. We just had so much more demand and interest in working with us, making that one kind of change, which also was really powerful for me as a marketer, because it made me realize, the power of niching down, the power of differentiation, the power of positioning, and what it can do for a company, not just in theory, but now firsthand, when you get that right. And so it really opened up my eyes, and I think actually made me a better marketer. Made me much more passionate about helping our clients differentiate themselves, position themselves, and niche down, even in pest control, which is this industry it's a commodity, right? I mean, I can throw a stone and hit 100 pest control companies around me in downtown Austin.
Well, here in Florida, you could hit 200.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So that experience was really, really powerful, and that kind of brings us to today.
Yeah, and it's hard to do. It's hard to realize, like, what I need to actually be smaller in scope. I need to, that'll make me actually better. And I've seen a lot of pest control companies that haven't learned that lesson. They'll drive 2 hours to do one stop, or they want to do every single service out there. They want to do encapsulation, and they've got this 1% of their business is this and 2% of their business is that. So that I applaud you, because it's hard to have that realization to begin with, but then to actually say, you know what, I'm going to say no to this, I'm going to say no to that, so I could really say yes to this. And that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to do. You've mentioned a couple of times that the industry was underserved. What do you tell us what you mean by that? Give us an idea of what you thought and what you saw.
Yeah. So, what I saw at the time were, in part what we're talking about today, which is a lot of companies with complete lack of differentiation. A lot of websites that, it's. I wasn't look. I don't really look at websites and say, "Oh, that's an ugly website." It's not really about. It's not as much about the aesthetics of a website. It's about I can look at a website and see if the copywriting is good. Usually there are signs there that where that becomes clear. So I could see copywriting in the industry was not really getting any attention, which meant conversion rate optimization was not really getting much attention. From an SEO perspective, the industry is okay. There are some companies out there that are clearly more competitive than others, um, but I could see that there was important technology available to companies that was not being used, and then even aesthetically and branding wise, there are some companies out there who I've learned about over the years and really hit the nail on the head. You've got like Jonas Olson and what he's done with Pest Badger. I think he really gets it. He talks a lot about differentiation. You've got there's a company out in Arizona. They have a very premium sort of positioning. All their guys wear all Nike gear. They've got big black trucks with the big black rims. Green Mango Pest Control. Those guys get differentiation, right? Um, but 99.99999% of the industry, like it just goes over their head, and no fault of their own. But I felt like I could come in with the marketing knowledge I had gained over the course of however many years since 2016 when I started learning marketing, and really help pull the industry or pull my clients forward in a way that I just wasn't seeing happening. So yeah, when I say underserved, it was just looking around, kind of seeing what did that look like. I also looked at the competition when I started Pesty. I maybe saw like two other agencies who were marketing specifically and solely to pest control companies. And, based on that and based on seeing there wasn't like a really clear market leader, when you're niching down this far, at least in theory, you can sort of become there should be a dominant player. You can be a dominant player in a space this small. And there wasn't a dominant player yet. And so I thought, okay, well, that's an opportunity for me to not only serve, the clients in the industry who clearly could use the support, but also we could be the dominant player, eventually. So from a business perspective, it was also very attractive.
We know something about being a dominant player in the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
But and the king, I guess the king of differentiation was truly Nolan, right? For years ago, they had the little cars with the mouse ears on it and the tails, and I mean, when you saw those vehicles, you knew what company that was. And you're right. I see them because I was in the industry for so long. But most pest control vehicles, it's a pickup truck. Got a phone number on the side, a little sticker on the back that says we obey the speed limit. So a Webster brush stick out the back. Yeah, there's not a lot of uniqueness to them. So that's a really pretty interesting observation. So why? I guess you kind of answered that already, but you said hey, you saw all these generic cookie cutter marketing strategies. Everybody's kind of like, we're going to do this, and this. So, I mean, I think it's kind of clear like why that doesn't work. But what are you guys doing, or what are you trying to do that's different, that's not cookie cutter, that is maybe providing much better results than the traditional kind of cookie cutter approach?
There's a bunch of things that I think add up to being very, very powerful. So where to begin? We'll start with the research that we do, of which you've started to see some of that as we've shared it on LinkedIn. It seems to me like, so macro perspective of what's important in marketing, like how do you even do great marketing? It all starts with understanding your customer, right? You have to interview them. You have to, you could do NPS scores. You could do surveys. In our case, we get access to lots and lots and lots of transcriptions from voice recordings, which that data is gold. I mean, it is so valuable to helping us understand the different kinds of mindsets, right? Because we can, with enough of that data, we can pattern match and identify that there's a certain type of person who is going to go with. This is probably the most commonly understood person, but it's like a tire kicker. They're basically just looking for the cheapest price, right? But that's where most, I think, pest control operators stop thinking about, okay, well, what are the other types of people out there, right? Because then you also have people who are the protector of their home. Their home is their oasis, and they don't want it disturbed. And so when you talk about, when you see in marketing, like the peace of mind you're bringing the customer, that is the person on the other end of that message who's receiving that, who you're really trying to get at. So it starts with research. After we've worked with a client for usually 3 months at least, depending on the call volume, we will take all of the transcriptions from the calls, and we will at this point run them through a process that includes our own method, and also the use of AI, of course, to analyze those transcriptions and to come up with who are the ideal customer profiles of our client. We're specifically focused on the sales qualified lead calls. So we actually don't, in the beginning, we typically don't look at calls that are not qualified because we're less concerned about those. So a lot of this comes down to just our interest in the data and our willingness to gather it and organize it and analyze it, and then turn that around and share that with the client so that they also better understand their who their customer is. The other ways in which we differentiate ourselves or serve our clients that's different is with the website. We have come up with a way to take advantage of something called programmatic technology, which is just a fancy word for saying the ability to scale and manage websites that have hundreds or thousands of pages on them. The old way of building websites is to manually build a page one by one.
Right.
But the pest control industry, it's perfect for programmatic technology because you're always going to be in multiple service areas. And in every one of those service areas, not only do you need a pest control page, but you also need an ant control page, a wasp control page,
Right.
termite control, bed bug, all that, right? In order to rank and perform well in those different cities. So the fact that we use programmatic technology seems to be relatively unique. It's not a super unique technology in general, like Home Advisor, Angie, Yelp. Those are all lead generation, performance marketing companies. So it's been used for a long time. It just hasn't been widely used for small businesses. So we've brought that technology to small businesses in the pest control industry. And then on top of that, we found a way to layer in AI so that not only are we deploying these websites at scale, but we've built a brain inside of this system that takes into account business context, weather, the time of year, so the date and month, takes into account the pests that are in season and specifically in the market where the page has been deployed. And then it creates content that is relevant to all of that information. So when we deploy a site now in March, the website and the AI is going to generate content that's talking about how things are warming up, how that means that bugs are starting to come out, how the fact that it's March and we're heading towards spring, all those things. And then the third benefit to the website or the technology that we built is that in April, the content throughout the website updates. So now it's talking about April and the fact that the bugs are here and the fact that it's now definitely spring
it just
and
does it
things
by
are
itself,
warm.
right? I mean,
It just does it by itself.
Right.
Yep. It just does it by itself. So at the beginning of each month, that content gets updated. So that's a very powerful suite of
Yeah,
tools
that's
that we
really,
brought
I have not
to
not
the.
heard of that before. That sounds amazing.
As far as I know, it's unique to us right now, and so we did the R&D for it. You know, we built the tech, we did everything we could, because when we thought about it from a first principles perspective, and we realized, okay, well, let's throw out what we think of as a website. What would just be the perfect experience for the consumer? Well, the consumer would land on the website, and they would get content that's relevant to their city, relevant to the pests that are in season, relevant to the weather that they're experiencing, all of that stuff. So then we just, worked our way backwards from there and said, okay, well, if that's the ideal situation, if that's the ideal experience, then can we build technology, especially today with AI, that lends itself to, that experience for the consumer. And then because we've spent years now, collecting all this data with transcriptions and understanding the consumer, we now have a really good understanding also of what is effective in terms of converting those consumers once we actually get them on the website, right? So you've got SEO, which tracks them, but we leverage a lot of that research as well to turn those eyeballs into leads. Um, on all the landing pages that we deploy through paid ads, we're always doing A/B testing across all of our clients. And so at this point, we've done, I don't even know how many tests across the years, but we've really landed on, um, understanding the language and the visual language that will convert users into leads, and we've brought that into the website. So as far as I can tell, when I look around, I think we are by far the most aggressive when it comes to focusing heavily on conversion rate optimization. Typically, what I see is sites that are very SEO heavy. They're not very conversion rate optimization heavy. And so we've put a heavy emphasis, and in fact, we have a whole team specifically for conversion rate optimization who's thinking about that all day, every day for our clients.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do any good to get leads in if you don't close them.
Right? Yeah, and so these won't necessarily help with closing them, because that'll be on the sales side, but it doesn't help to get traffic to the website if you're not gonna convert them into leads, for sure. But anyways, I hope that didn't sound like a sales pitch.
No, sales pitches are okay. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. And I think it's very interesting. I mean, it sounds like, you guys are, I've been around a lot of marketing companies, and what you're doing is very unique, and very interesting. And the fact that you're not just saying, okay, here's our suite of things we do, and here's how much it's going to cost you. I mean, you're researching, you're taking in, you're creating new ways and using new technology, which I find is fascinating. So no problem there. You're always welcome to make shameful plugs all day long. But one thing I specifically wanted to talk to you about was at Pest World last year, you guys did something, and I saw it going on, and I didn't realize you were doing it and what exactly it was. And it was called Stop Pest Orgies, which was really interesting. So tell us about that whole thing and where it came from. And I saw you posted about, you had some pretty amazing results, just basically making up something that didn't really exist, right?
Yeah, it was. So, this was an opportunity for us to essentially put our money where our mouth is, right? Because it's one thing for us to tell all of our clients, you need to differentiate, you need to, be okay, being a little controversial, you need to stand out. And so I had come up with some ideas around how fun kind of out there campaigns that pest control companies could possibly run as a marketing initiative. But of course, I wasn't able to get any of our clients to have that much fun with the Stop Pest Orgies campaign. So we were thinking through, what can we do at Pest World, because we were too late to get a booth. But we wanted to, our goal going to Pest World was make it impossible for people to not talk about you or have heard about Pesty Marketing. And so in that exercise, I'd come up with this idea that, what if we made a fake pest control company, and we instead of killing bugs, the campaign is all about stopping pests from having sex, and then that turned into Stop Pest Orgies, which I think the whole team kind of thought was hilarious. I also don't know if my team even thought I was actually going to have us wear those shirts and like do that campaign. But they were great about it. They were all in. They were, I think they were nervous at first when we actually showed up, but as we saw the response, we had people laughing, we had people coming up and talking to us and shaking our hand and being interested, and specifically around our marketing because we were thinking differently. And we walked around with a pizza box, and we had spent a few hours the night before gluing together little plastic bug toys into like quote unquote pest orgies with a QR code sticker on them, and so we were handing those out, and people were having fun. Getting those. So we did end up getting a slap on the wrist from
Really?
from Pest World facilitators. Oh yeah. You're not supposed to hand out stuff at Pest World on the floor or walk around doing that. It sounds like they have to slap someone on the wrist. Every year there are people who either don't know, which we didn't know. We also didn't ask. It was very much a ask for forgiveness instead of permission
Right.
situation.
Say I'm sorry
and also
later.
yeah. I mean, because we knew it wasn't like a huge deal. Was it going to be controversial? Yes. Was it going to rub maybe a few people the wrong way? Yes. Was it also going to be super fun and 99% of people were going to have a good laugh and enjoy it and sort of relax a little bit because of it? Yes. So we felt the trade-off was worth it, even if we did get a slap on the wrist. And also, we it's not because we were trying to skirt around paying for a booth. I mean, I paid close to $10,000 in tickets just to get my team there, which was more than you would have paid for a booth if we had just gotten a smaller booth at Pest World. And then I told them, I said, look, I wasn't here to cause trouble. We were having fun. We just we wanted to be a little creative, and if you guys give me the opportunity to get a booth, I promise I'm willing to spend the money and do that as well. So we got a 20 by 20 booth for Pest World this year, and went all in on it. So yeah, we're excited. We don't know exactly what we're going to do this year. We'll try to stay out of trouble, but we also do want to stand out, get people talking, probably get people laughing. And so we have a few ideas that we'll see what we run with.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys walking around, and I thought it was funny, and then I did see people like talking to you, and but I mean, I understand also you can't have a bunch of people wandering around the hall.
Sure.
It kind of ruins the whole vibe of Pest World. But
Totally.
sometimes you have to just do something and then get in trouble for it, and then learn from it. And so I think it was pretty cool. And I applaud the originality and the ingenuity of it, and I think that says a lot about who you guys are as a marketing company, because you're not and there's a lot of great marketing companies out there that serve the pastoral industry, but you guys are doing things a little bit differently, and I think that makes a big that makes a difference when you do things differently. That's kind of an awkward sentence, but anyway. What are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing pest control companies make regarding their marketing now? Like that, maybe some things they could do better, do differently, or just stop doing altogether.
Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake that I see pest control companies make is that they don't know what it is that differentiates them from other companies, and they dilute their messaging so that they end up looking and sounding like every other pest control company. And in that situation, you really end up in a race to the bottom on price, right? So you can be a pest control. You can actually get away with that if you have a really powerful brand that has been around for a long time. You've grown sizable enough. People have seen your trucks around enough that you can lean into, like Terminix and Orkin, and those guys have like TV commercials. But there's also regional players that have just been around so long. They're dominant in their area. And so they have a lot of inherent familiarity and trust built into the name. But if you're a company that is, still trying to grow rapidly or in new areas and no one knows about you, you don't have that advantage to lean on. And yet, one of the first questions I ask our clients when we're onboarding them, and this is actually where we spend the most amount of time in this onboarding meeting, is what differentiates you? How are you different from other pest control companies? I don't even mean necessarily better, but how are you different? What do you do that other pest control companies don't? And even more specifically, what do you do that is different and particularly compelling to the ideal customer that you want? And almost always when I ask that question, it's something, it becomes pretty clear to me that it's something that the person I'm talking to has never really thought of.
Right.
And that's a big problem, right? Because if I'm a consumer and I call your company up, I may not use these exact words, but essentially what I'm saying is, why should I choose you over all the other pest control companies I just saw that I could choose, right? Um, and if you can't answer that question really, really clearly, you have a problem. You have a problem because that's gonna come out in your marketing. That's going to come out in your sales, and your sales team probably has a pitch down, right, that they can make work. But even then, we unless you have really talented salespeople, you're relying on pure salesmanship for them to close that business, and your close rate's probably going to be a lot lower than it really needs to be. So I think that's the biggest mistake is just looking and sounding like every other pest control company out there, completely lacking anything that's memorable or different or super appealing to the ideal kind of client that you want. I think that another mistake that we see, and I this comes with operational challenges depending on how you do this, but I don't think nearly enough time is spent on crafting a compelling offer for as part of the marketing and sales motion. Most companies, in my experience, their offer is what they'll call a quarterly pest control plan that comes with, features A, B, and C, which basically everyone else offers.
Right.
And maybe they offer like a $50 discount, right, or $100 off your initial to get started, to get into your general pest control subscription plan. And through all the testing I've done, we have found very clearly that the most powerful lever to pull, at least when it comes to direct advertising, which is like Google Ads, you're getting someone on the website from Google, is the offer. And what I mean by an offer is not simply how much of a discount are you offering. In fact, it doesn't necessarily have to include any kind of discount. Your offer are those features and benefits that come in the different packages that you have. Your offer is what you name those different packages, and whether or not those packages are quarterly, bi-monthly, or one shot or two shot, or are they some form of naming convention that is specific to you, like basic home plus, right? That's actually a pretty bad name, but it's better than quarterly, bi-monthly, one shot.
Gold, silver,
not
bronze level service.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of being, clear is good, but you also want to be a little bit creative so that it feels to the consumer like they can, if they're going to go with any of these packages, they're packages they can only get from you. And if they go anywhere else, they are not getting what it is that you're offering. And then with the getting creative around, like I said, not necessarily even offering a discount. In my opinion, the best offer is one that gets a higher percentage of leads to turn into customers, or gets you a higher percentage of leads also, and also one that results in a higher customer lifetime value. So I'll give you an example. We have a client out here in Texas, and when they wanted to sell more termite protection. And initially, they tried to do that by having their salespeople, upsell the termite protection over the phone, and no one was biting. It was like less, we'll call it 10% of people they could get to actually take them up on it, and it was only an extra $13 a month, so it wasn't like a crazy upsell, but nonetheless, they had a hard time selling it. So then they flipped it, And what they did is they started offering it for the first 12 months for free. So now you get a whole year of termite protection, where on every leave behind, every receipt, invoice, whatever that you get, you're seeing a line item that says termite protection, $0, termite protection, $0 every month for 12 months. And so now you've been conditioned to expect and feel protected from termites. And so now what they do is after 12 months, they auto enroll people into that termite protection, now paid at $13 a month. And they found that about 90% of their customers would auto enroll without any issue. Some people will call back and say, hey, I didn't mean to auto enroll, because you guys take that off and give me back, that whatever, that first $13. But the far majority of them continue to use that, to use the termite protection and pay for it happily, because they have now gotten used to that protection. So what they stumbled upon is the power of loss aversion. We are much more likely to want to hold on to something that we already have, rather than acquire something we don't yet have. And so when you already have termite protection for the last year, you're used to that comfort, you're used to that protection. You don't want to lose it, right? So that's a perfect example of an offer where they don't have to give away a discount up front, and yet free termite protection for a whole year is unique in their market. So it's very compelling, and ultimately they end up with more higher customer lifetime value, because now that customer is paying $13 a month, forever for as long as they're a customer. So there are obviously operational challenges that come with that. Like it's not just a matter of saying you're going to offer termite protection, and then nothing happens, right? You then have to build that into your routes and into your technicians and their what they become used to. So that's typically where we get pushback from clients, where we want to explore more creative initiatives like that. Is operationally they don't really want to implement it. There's too much resistance, but there's a lot of power in that. And so I think a huge mistake is that companies just don't spend nearly enough time crafting their offer, thinking about what goes into it, the language. I'll give you another example. What you commonly see, rightfully so, because it's effective, is like a 3-tier package. If someone's selling a plan, right? They have the basic plan, they have the middle plan, and then they have the premium plan. The most common mistake that I see is that the premium plan is not nearly premium enough. They're not charging enough, and they're not doing enough to create a VIP level premium service to justify that kind of pricing. And then we have a client who was willing to kind of go all in with us in that direction. They actually originally, when I suggested it, they said no, and then they ended up talking to another consultant in the industry who said, actually, you should do that. So they came back around eventually, and they have their basic plan, their middle plan, and their premium plan is like $220 a month. But with that plan, you get some incredible benefits if you're willing to pay for it. Things like skip the wait line when you're calling in. So you get like a specific VIP line so that you don't have to wait on hold ever, essentially as a customer, similar to like the experience of an American Express kind of like card. You just immediately get a hold of someone. And then they have like an annual, whole home inspection where they just do a bunch of extra stuff to go all out to make sure that you're protected. They will spray and take care of detached garages or detached little offices or whatever you have, right? That's detached from the home.
Outbuildings,
yes. So they've layered in all this extra stuff to where the price seems crazy to some, if you're most consumers, and probably also crazy to most pest control operators. But there are a percentage of people out there who they don't care. They want the premium experience. They're willing to pay for it. They want the best sometimes just because that's how they think of themselves. I get the best of everything. So of course,
I've got an 85-inch TV. Okay.
exactly. Right. Or I've got a huge house, whatever it is, some people just identify with wanting the best of everything. When some people just want, going back to that ideal customer profile and how some of these people are, some people also just, their home and their property is their sanctuary. And they don't want to see bugs or webs or any of that anywhere. And so when the conditions are right, some people will bite on that. And also what it does is it makes your middle and basic package seem so much more affordable, because now you've anchored the price to some really high number. And in comparison, because as humans, we're always comparing your middle package and your basic package, even if they are a little bit more expensive than, what else is out there, all of a sudden they look cheap, right? Relative to that $220 a month. Affordable. Exactly.
When I worked at McCall Pest many years ago, we decided to do bundling, right? So, you could bundle a lawn service with a pest service, whatever. So I was like, why don't we have the ultimate bundle where everything is covered? Every pest, it doesn't matter, bed bug. And of course, not like you said, the operations side, that's going to, we can't do that. What do you do for a callback? And so we're charging enough, right, that it'll cover it. And we actually sold a good number of those, I forget what it was called, but basically every bug out there was covered. And we had almost no callbacks, because we were going out there doing the regular service, and we rarely got anything beyond that. So it turned out to be a really good idea. And like you said, it's exactly what you said. We had this super premium product that cost quite a bit more. But, to your point, what's somebody willing to pay to know that if they have any kind of insect problem at all they got to do is call, and that's going to get taken care of, right? They don't have to worry about paying more. And so that's a very smart approach you're taking, and just the whole differentiation, because, pretty much all pest control companies buy the same type of vehicle. They all buy the same products from the same vendors, the same distributors. I mean, there's not a lot to differentiate in the core, kind of the structure of the industry, right? I mean, you could have a flash, like you said, big vehicle with big tires, and at the end of the day, you're essentially using the same products and doing things the same way. So you do have to figure out a way to make yourself different, other than, like you said, the lowest price, because you're never going to be the lowest price. There's always going to be somebody who wants to do it lower. And then the customers that gravitate towards lowest price are usually the least loyal as well, because they're really only interested in price. So any little snag, they're out, to the next low price. So it's a really good point. Well, this has been great. I've learned a lot about what you guys do, and I really admire the way you're approaching things. That you're being super intelligent about it, using technology. I guess in closing, what do you see out there, technology-wise? It sounds like you guys are kind of on the forefront of it already regarding marketing stuff. What do you say? Anything new as AI progresses and things like that? How the landscape might change a little bit more differently, even though it's changing now based on some of the stuff you guys are doing?
Yeah. So, I always feel behind because things are moving so quickly. But I do think, relatively speaking, me and my team are on the cutting edge of what's out there and what's available. And we're starting to expose some of our clients to it. I was on a call with Wayne's yesterday, walking their marketing team through the power of Claude Code. And they were blown away. They were so excited, and I was so excited to share it with them.
My boss just sent me a tease message last night about Claude Code. That's very interesting.
It's really amazing. I'm going to be I'm speaking at Bug Bucks this year, Bug Bucks Con, in a couple of weeks, and I'm quite confident I'm going to be exposing the audience to Claude Code. So I think Claude Code and similar tools like it, ChatGPT or OpenAI has Codex. And Google has also done an incredible job of catching up with their Gemini, an AI suite of tools. So, it's just amazing what you can build and how quickly you can build things. Like, I think that the ability to move with speed, as small businesses, myself being one of them. We're a team of 35 today, trying to compete with, 800-pound gorillas in the space like Scorpion. Our competitive advantage, meaning you listener who is a small business trying to grow, up against titans of industry, our competitive advantage is really speed. And technology today enables us to move so unbelievably and excitingly fast. And just dabbling in and having a little bit of fun with some of these tools like ChatGPT, Claude Code, Codex, whatever you want to start with. allows you to move so much quicker because we're up against companies who are dealing with red tape and bloat and
much more agile.
and who have to, we have to think, they have to think way harder about like security and all this stuff that prevents them from testing things and getting stuff done. So yeah, I think tools like ChatGPT, custom GPTs, Claude Code, which by the way is really easy to use. It's not. I think it's a bit scary for some people if you don't think of yourself as a technology person. You just tend to steer away from it or push it off. But I promise you, if you dig into it, you will be absolutely obsessed. You can build websites in a matter of you can build like literally entire websites in a matter of minutes. You can get pretty decent copywriting, right? And the websites actually look good. They look professional. And there's so much information out there, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube or frankly just connecting with someone like us, like reaching out and just like we're sharing about stuff on our own YouTube channel about how to leverage AI. So in terms of technology, I live in the world of marketing, and so that's where that's where I'm thinking about. And yeah, it's just a really exciting time to be alive. I think a lot of people also feel like it's a scary time to be alive, and I just that's I don't know. I experience the world in a way where I feel so grateful every day that I get to be in this place and this time with the technology that we have. And all you have to do is compare what life is like today to what life would have been like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and just how hard those people had it, and how it's not even a matter of speed. It's just life was so much freaking harder and scarier back then.
Well, and I'm old enough to have I went through the internet, the birth of the internet, right? So I witnessed what you're talking about at that level, and the huge, people used to have to go to a travel agent to get a plane ticket. I mean, seriously, or you had to go to the airline. Now you can book an airplane ticket on this device in 30 seconds, and now we're to this next with AI. It's even who knows. So I think that, but I got to tell you, this has been great, very exciting, very interesting stuff. I'm so glad you came on. I'm going to bring Bryn in now. We got to close up with we like to close up with a couple fun questions. So here we go. So you ready, Andrew? We got some interesting questions for you. I'm going to let Bryn answer this first to give you as our guest time to think about it. If you could be invisible for one day, what would you do that day? Rob a bank. That's not the first thing I thought of, though. I mean, you could sneak into any movie, what?
That is a tough one. That's a
tough question. Do you go evil or do you go good? Right. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So maybe it's somewhere in the middle.
I think so. I think I have an answer. So okay. I think I would try to put myself in the room with some people or a person who I really, really admire. So that I could experience being around them and just hearing how they talk and seeing how they operate. I think that kind of exposure would just be so interesting and fun and cool, and something you could get away with if you were invisible.
Now that would be cool. Yeah. Go hang out. Not necessarily, some of the world leaders or titans of the industry or whatever. That's a great answer. Bryn, do you have an answer? It's a tough question.
I don't know.
Nah, tough question. Okay, fair enough. That's a tough one.
You can join me. We'll go find people who we think are really cool.
You know what? Yeah, just let me know when you're ready, and we'll all just be invisible together and go do that really cool thing, and then we can go get an invisible lunch somewhere. That'll be nice. So, all right, this question: do you have an embarrassing nickname? If you do, where did it come from? I'll tell you mine. It was just because I was a kid. I had five brothers and sisters, and of course, because we were kids, all of our names got shortened. So my name's Raymond, but I was called Rainy, right? It was Lori, Dami, Annie, Joey, and Ramey. And I was Ramey up until I became grown up. And I remember I hadn't seen my sister in a long time, but we were somewhere out, whatever. And she said, Ramey. And I said, oh, don't call me Ramey anymore. I'm not Ramey. So Ramey was mine. I've been called worse things, but that's my worst nickname that I've been called. What about you guys?
The one that I used to feel really embarrassed by as a kid, just young, really insecure, was growing up. My nickname was Shorty because I was always really short, and even today, I'm 5'7". I'm not like a very tall guy, but back then it used to really bother me. I also get called every once in a while. Someone will ask me. It rarely happens when someone assumes, but most of the time someone will ask me if I go by Andy. And for some reason, Andy, like I do not like it as a nickname. Maybe it reminds me of like Buddy, it's like you're like a dog or like you're going to pat him on the head. I know that's not how they intend it, but Andy is not ever a name I particularly.
It's funny because my name is Raymond, and for many years, up until about the last 15, 20 years, it really bothered me when people I met, they would just call me Ray. Like out the box, right? And my feeling was like, you don't really know me well enough to call me Ray. I mean, I introduced myself as Raymond, but then I started going I started in Copasan, started those different meetings all over the country and meeting people from all over the country, and I realized that's just how people are. It's more prevalent in the North than in the South. But it's just how people are. And so it doesn't bother me at all now, but my boss used to laugh because we would go somewhere and it would happen and he could just see me like, oh, so I get it. I get the Andy thing completely. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Everybody, Pesty Marketing, some amazing stuff out there. Thanks for coming in, Andrew, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.